Good afternoon, everyone. May I request everybody to please stand for prayer.
Sign of the cross. Our Heavenly Father, thank you for all your goodness, for everything that you have given to us. Thank you for this wonderful, colorful, and beautiful day, O God. Lord, continue to be with us, to guide us, and to give us the knowledge and wisdom within this activity. Lord, we pray that this activity will become successful. Everything we need, Lord, is to put our trust in you because we declare that apart from you, we really do nothing, O God. This prayer all I ask in your mighty name, O God. Amen.
Please be seated. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. Today, we will be having a classroom debate. The conduct of this debate aims to develop the critical thinking skills among students and enhance their speaking ability, and also to show concern to the Philippine current issues. We have chosen this topic because it is timely, relevant, and appropriate to the recent status of our country. Being a developing country, it is an imperative to upgrade the technological advancement of our nation. And part of this advancement is the plan to build a nuclear power plant. For how many decades which have passed, the nuclear power plant situated in Bataan was built to provide electricity. Unfortunately, it was not pushed through because of some controversies during its establishment, and part of this is the ill effects being brought by the nuclear waste. And so, now, we are reopening the possibility of considering the establishment of nuclear power plant and evaluate the advantages and disadvantages. By conducting this debate, we will be enlightened by weighing the pros and cons of building nuclear power plant. And now, we shall witness the debate of the grade 10 students. This will start with the remarks of our moderator.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, we will be witnessing the debate of the grade 10 students from Mubud Integrated School. My name is Jinmaila M. Montejo, a grade 10 student, and it's my privilege to be the moderator of today's debate. The proposition of this debate is to resolve that it is beneficial to build a nuclear power plant in the Philippines. There are two themes of this debate. The affirmative side, who are in favor to the issue, are the following. First, Ken Jumel M. Ditan. Second, Kimberly B. Lumasag. Third speaker, Devani L. Yorong. Fourth speaker, Renali Lumasag. Fifth speaker, Luella Jane N. Alcala. And the team captain, Anne Margaret A. Lanet. Please be seated. The negative side, who opposed for the issue, are the following. First speaker, Giselle N. Shete. Second speaker, April Rose L. Francisco. Third speaker, Emmanuel Marichan D. Labang. Fourth speaker, Blythe Cabral. Fifth speaker, J. M. Baco. And the team captain, Rebecca Michelle T. Gaya. Let me briefly give you the mechanics for today's debate so you'll know what to expect. The debate will start with a constructive speech of the first affirmative speaker. She or he will be given 5 minutes for speech. Then she or he will be interpolated by the first speaker of the negative side for the maximum of 2 minutes. After that, the first speaker of the negative side will deliver his or her constructive speech. And later on, he or she will be interpolated by the first speaker of the affirmative side. The same mechanics will happen for second, third, fourth, and fifth speaker of both sides. This will end with a rebuttal speech of the captains of both teams. It is my privilege to present to you the Board of Judges. Our first judge is Mrs. Marifie L. Rihoy, an elementary teacher of Mubad Integrated School. Our second judge is Mrs. Esther T. Itin, a master teacher of Mubad Integrated School. Our third judge is Mr. Mark R. Mera, a high school teacher of Mubad Integrated School. So these are the criteria for judging. Evidence for 25%, delivery 30%, interpolation 30%, rebuttal 15%. And now, we will hear the constructive speech of the first speaker. Let's give him a round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. I and my team believe that nuclear power plant should be built in our country. Nuclear power plant is a thermal power station that generates electricity using heat from the nuclear reaction. Nuclear reactions take place within a nuclear reactor. Nuclear power plant is a machine which removes heat from the nuclear reactor to operate a steam turbine and generator. Electricity made by the nuclear power plant is called nuclear power. The advantages of nuclear energy are the lower greenhouse gas emissions. The reports in 1998, it has been calculated the emission of the greenhouse gas has reduced for nearly half due to the popularity in the use of nuclear power. Nuclear energy by far has the methane, which are largely responsible for greenhouse effect. There is no adverse effect on water, land, or any habitats due to the use of it, though some greenhouse gases are released while transporting fuel or extracting energy from uranium. According to Bruno Combi, the benefits of nuclear energy must be claimed: safe energy source, capable competitive energy source. It is the source of which can replace a significant part of the fossil fuels, coal, gas oils, and gas, which massively pollute the atmosphere and contribute to the greenhouse effect. If we want to be serious about climate change and the end of oil, we must promote the efficient use of energy emerging. We must use renewable energies, wind and solar, wherever possible, and adopt a more sustainable lifestyle. But this will not be nearly enough to slow the accumulation of atmospheric carbon dioxide and satisfy the needs of our industrial civilization and the aspiration of the developing nation. Nuclear power should be deployed rapidly to replace coal, oil, and gas in the industrial countries, and eventually in developing countries. An intelligent combination of energy conservation and renewable energies for local low-intensity application, and nuclear energy for base load electricity production is the only viable way for the future. Nuclear electric power plants will also provide power for electric vehicles, for cleaner transportation. With the new high-temperature reactors, we will be able to recover fresh water from the sea and support hydrogen. We believe that the opposition of some environmental organizations to civilian application of nuclear energy will soon be revealed have been among the greatest mistakes of our time. Thank you.
Mr. Ditan, based on your speech, this is my question. How can you prove that nuclear energy is safe and clean energy source?
According to Combi, he said that the nuclear power plant releases less pollution to the atmosphere compared to the other fossil fuels, coal, gas oil, and gas.
Thank you. Have a pleasant afternoon to all of us. I and my team has opposing on the building nuclear power plants in our country because they are primarily harmful to our environment and radiation from nuclear waste was being released by the nuclear power plant. It can cause drastically bad effects on our life, causing cancerous and growth for our instance. We must be sure that nuclear power plant can affect our environment because many people living near to the nuclear power station or waste storage depots. And it is concerned about the nuclear accidents and radioactive leaks. Some fear that living in the area can damage their health, especially the health of young children. The radiation has a bad effect to the environment if the nuclear power plant will explode because it produces long-range air and water pollution. There is a big risk of the nuclear accident where it releases the radiation to our wide range. Living things and non-living things will be affected. Animals, plants, humans, and our environment are in deep danger when the nuclear power plant will blow up. So, why we are having bothering to build a nuclear power plant in our country? When the country itself is better and beautiful place to live without a nuclear power plant. As a matter of fact, it can only add problems and it can cause danger on our environment. According to the World Nuclear Association, the radioactive waste from the spent nuclear fuel is the most difficult issue of the power generation, and most of waste will be buried. The radioactive waste is dangerous to our environment because it will release the radiation for 100,000 years. The radiation can harm to our environment, especially living things and non-living things. The issue of radioactive waste is a very important one. The more nuclear power plant we have, the more nuclear waste generated. And it only takes a single incident to affect a wide area and for a very long time. The storage of radioactive waste has been bottleneck expansion of the nuclear programs. These reactive radicals make the sand contaminated and it is known as mixed waste. The mixed waste causes hazardous chemical reactions and leads to dangerous complications. Nuclear waste affects the environment primarily because it is extremely difficult to dispose of. If it isn't disposed of properly, it can cause extensive groundwater and soil contamination. The elements that make up of nuclear waste often have long half-lives, which means that it may take millions or billions of years that waste is safe for our environment. The hard target of nuclear power plant is for militants and terrorist organizations. Nuclear power plant can affect on our nature, but one of the biggest concerns that the world has with the disposal of nuclear waste is the effect
these materials could have an animal and plant's life. Although, most of the time, the waste is sold inside a huge drum of steel and concrete. Sometimes accidents can happen and leaks can occur. Have disposing of nuclear waste properly can have huge environment impacts that can harm many millions of animals and hundreds of animal species. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, this is my question. Why does nuclear waste primarily affect our environment?
It primarily affects our environment because when we talk about nuclear waste, comes from radiation that being released by the nuclear power plants. And if it disposed of properly, it can cause extensive groundwater and soil contamination. Thank you.
Thank you for your wonderful answer.
Thank you, speakers. And now, we will also hear the constructive speech and the interpellation of the both second speakers. Let us give them a warm of applause. Good afternoon to everyone. We all know that Philippines is one of the poorest countries. So in building nuclear power plant, our economy will be at greater heights. According to Elizabeth Ansioko, nuclear power plant is beneficial to our country because this will result in cheap electricity. This will make us more attractive to foreign investors. We will be less bypassed as an investment or manufacturing destination. Our costly electricity costs us dearly in terms of economic opportunity. It is also plausible that our economy would grow an additional 1% if electricity costs half its price. In our economy of 15 trillion, 1% represents 150 billion of foreign economic opportunity because of expensive and unreliable supply of electricity. The National Power Corporation was mandated by law to preserve and maintain this nuclear plant. It has instituted procedures and programs to keep the aesthetic attributes of NPP. The craftsmen of this law envisioned that somewhere in the future, this sleeping massive undertaking of the government may resurrect and be able to provide safe, clean, reliable, and cheap energy while at the same time steering the nation towards economic and technological advancement. Furthermore, nuclear energy is cheaper, which can help our economy expand. Our country can make more profit and get even farther out of the recession. This will benefit us lots as we can sort more problems that our country is facing. On the subject of economy, many more jobs will be made if we create more nuclear plants. We can have less unemployment, meaning more families will get out of debt, and again, our country will become wealthier. Also, the fact that nuclear plants are quite high-tech could mean that we make more important and scientific discoveries. The nuclear energy industry plays an important role in job creation and economic growth, providing near-term and lasting employment and benefits here in our country, which is Philippines. Thank you. Ms. Speaker, based on your speech, why did you say that a nuclear power plant is not expensive when it costs a grow in hundreds of thousands? Thank you. Nuclear energy is cheaper. Why? It is because nuclear energy only needs 20 tons and it will be refueled only once every 18 months. So 20 tons will be fueled, and for 18 months, it can generate in about 8.1 billion kilowatts per hour. Thank you.
A pleasant afternoon to everyone. Yes, it's true that Philippines is one of the poorest countries. But building nuclear power plant is not the way to progress our country. It is not beneficial to build nuclear power plant because if nuclear power plant will explode, all of living things would be affected because of its radiation. One of the big problems with nuclear power plant is the upfront cost. These reactors are extremely expensive to build. While the returns may be very great, they're also very slow. It can sometimes take decades to recoup initial costs. Since many investors have a short attention span, they don't like to wait for too long for their investment to pay off. Nuclear power plant is expensive, slow to build, and has significant downstream liabilities that could bite government in the future. The maintenance of the nuclear power plant is high. That's why it is difficult for government and utilities to accept this level potential liability. Because a power plant does not earn income and currencies can inflate during construction times. Longer construction times translate directly into higher finance charges. Nuclear power plant uses a large amount of hectares. Then, if this large amount of hectares were used only for nuclear power plant, the farmlands and forests are moving because of it. You must think about it. These farmlands and forests can be utilized as a livelihood to the farmers, and it helps to produce a lot of crops. It also develops the economic living in our society. And if we're talking about the economic impact, it costs to grow hundreds of thousands. Why? Because it can damage directly caused by the accident, like healthcare for those exposed to radiation. The nuclear power waste contains radioisotopes with long half-lives. This means that the radioisotopes stay in the atmosphere or the air. These reactive radicals make the sand or the water contaminated. It is known as mixed waste. The mixed waste cause hazardous chemical reactions and lead to dangerous complications. Thousands of people and children came down with thyroid cancer from drinking contaminated milk. Even small radiation leaks can cause devastating effects. Some of the symptoms include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and fatigue. Many neither died nor suffered severe health issues. You should think about it. If those contaminated milk would affect the health of the people, how can we achieve the progress of the economics if that product can be sold because of the contaminated milk? And what if its total cost is a large amount? How can the entrepreneur produce a product if plant would be affected because of the radiation of nuclear power plant? If nuclear power plant would happen here in our country, who wants to buy a product marked made in the Philippines? Then, if all of this would happen, this accident made new business development more difficult because producers spend more money and time just to research and to find out how to produce uncontaminated food. Thank you.
Ms. Speaker, based on your speech, here is my question. How can you say that the nuclear power plant is expensive?
Nuclear power plant is expensive because from the very start of its construction, it takes 5 to 10 years to build a nuclear power plant. Then, because of longer construction times, it directly translates into higher finance charges.
And now, we will also hear the constructive speech and the interpellation of both third speakers.
afternoon, everyone. According to the Philippines Nuclear Research Institute, that the Philippines is looking for operating our country, and only nuclear power plant to shore a long term to supply clean and cheap electricity. Nuclear generation is one of the options for the Philippines to meet its growing power needs with annual electricity in 2030. Based on the Energy Department Office of Nuclear Energy, that the nuclear energy is very powerful and efficient than other alternative energy sources, and it needs advancement of technology and scientific study. This is also one of the reasons why many countries are putting huge investment in nuclear power plant at present. The alternative power sources form nature's bountiful energy sources can provide most of our energy needs together with the energy-saving technology at the supply side. It only requires that the nation and its leader make political decisions to develop rapidly and expand these renewable, safe, and clean energy sources. The nuclear program in the Philippines started in 1958 with the reaction of the Philippines Automatic Energy Commission under the Republic Act 2067 on July 1973. Under the regime of martial rule, the Marcos government announced its decision to build nuclear power plant to be contracted by Westinghouse. Westinghouse clinched the contract through Herminio Dicini, a Marcos special sales representative. Westinghouse bribed Dicini and Marcos with at least $17 million to secure the contract in our country. According to former President Corazon Aquino, in 1987, she transformed the Automatic Energy Commission in the Philippines Nuclear Research Institute through Executive Order 128. It mandated that the PNRI to promote and regulate peaceful uses of nuclear energy, including the application of the power generation, agriculture, medicine, and others. According to President Ramos on May 12, 1995, Executive Order 243, Comprehensive Nuclear Power Program for the Philippines, under the signal intention of the government to go full scale into the nuclear program that would seat not just one but several nuclear power plants. For example, the Bataan Nuclear Power Plant. August 31, 2016, senators have opposing position on possibility of Bataan Nuclear Power Plant being revived to shore a long-term energy in our country. At the Senate Committee hearing, Alfonso Cosi said he was favored to reviving the 600 megawatts nuclear power plant because it was good for us. Thank you.
Well, excuse me, sir. As I heard in your speech, my question is, do you really think that the nuclear energy is efficient and powerful?
Yes, because the nuclear power plant is very powerful and efficient than other alternative sources. And it is advancement of technology and scientific study. And it is also one of the reasons why many countries put in huge investment in nuclear power plant at present. Thank you.
A pleasant afternoon to everyone. According to Stanford researcher, the political aspect is unlikely to change rapidly. When the cost of petroleum goes up a lot, the countries that have a nuclear program will have a competitive advantage that will put pressure on backward countries. The danger that anti-nuclear politics would succeed in suppressing energy everywhere seems to have passed. Chernobyl still rings defense, and they'll be cleaning up Fukushima for decades, if not centuries. While people have forgotten about the massive explosion at the fertilizer plant in West Texas, nuclear meltdowns generate a steady stream of bad press for a long time. In Germany, which got so unnerved post-Fukushima that it retired all its nuclear stock, Japan did the same, leading to a spike on all consumptions and imports. In other words, for a supposedly clean and stable source of energy, nuclear is extremely unreliable. It would be a different story if nuclear is super cheap and political panic were the only obstacle preventing its deployment on a grand scale. But the opposite is true. While wind and solar have been crashing in price, nuclear has actually been getting more expensive. New nuclear plants are stupendously costly to build, maintain, and insure, which is why they can only be built with colossal government subsidies. And also, to build a nuclear power plant in a country, it needs a lot of investment to set up a nuclear power station, especially with a not in my backyard syndrome of course in people's attitude. It is not always possible by the developing countries to afford such a costly source of energy. Nuclear power plants normally take 5 to 10 years to construct as there are several formalities to be completed, and mostly it is opposed by the people who live nearby. It's helpful for the country's economic structure to build a nuclear power plant. We need to move away from fossil fuels like coal, but nuclear energy is not safe. It can cause harm and danger to people and environment. Here in the Philippines in the year 1976, the Philippine dictator Ferdinand Marcos ordered to build a nuclear power plant in Bataan province in response to rising energy prices, and it was finished in 1984, but the facility was never started generating electricity because it was unsafe for it sits on a major earthquake fault line and lies near the Pinatubo volcano, which was dormant at that time. According to scientific research, the power plant's emissions generally would be as polluting and as harmful to environment and human health as those from coal-fired facilities that are being phased out to combat global warming. So, it demonstrates a pattern of industrial pollution, reminding us that development and technological advancement can bring with them destruction in all areas of life. Do we allow just to have the what they said, advanced and affordable life? But knowing that its advantages, does it make the difference? Still, the government would not support the nuclear power plant, and action for its needs also comes from the people who live nearby. So as a matter of fact, the country was a better place to live without a nuclear power plant. Thank you.
How can you prove, based on your speech, how can you prove that nuclear energy is not safe?
Well, nuclear energy is unreliable because it does not only consume a high amount of money, but it also consumes a life that is with treasure. Nuclear is a risky matter to purchase just to have an abundant source of energy. Thank you.
Thank you, speakers. Now, let us also hear the constructive speech and the interpolation of the both four speakers. Let's give them a round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone.
I and my team believes that building a nuclear power plant is safe and good in our global society because it can help us to improve the problem of electricity and economy. And it is also improve the quality of everyone's life in the surrounding areas. Nowadays, global warming is our primary topic because of the greenhouse gases that pollute the atmosphere. But reducing the consumption of fossil fuels, we can avoid the global warming. By using nuclear power plant, we can generate electricity for almost 90% of annual time. According to Dr. Gillespie, a top health science at the University of Phoenix and has a degree from PHILLIPINEs College of Chiropractic, said that nuclear power plant can generate electricity without greenhouse gases emission because it is not a burning fossil fuel like a coal power plant. So there is no adverse effects such as climate change, typhoon, earthquakes, and floods. However, nuclear power plant does not depend on natural aspects. It is a solution for the main disadvantages of renewable energy like solar energy and wind energy. According to World Nuclear Association, that there are 16 countries which build nuclear power plant and they still depended for at least a quarter of their electricity and economy. And lastly, nuclear power plant is very needed in our country because there are many benefits brought to us, such as increasing of electricity and also in economy. So there is no reason to disagree the building of nuclear power plant. And the most important, we must to support it because we need it. Thank you.
Ms. Speaker, based on your speech, this is my question. You said that the generation of electricity through nuclear energy doesn't contribute carbon dioxide, smoke particles, and heavy toxic. How sure you are that nuclear energy doesn't contribute carbon dioxide and smoke particles? Prove it.
In some experts said that nuclear power plant doesn't contribute to carbon dioxide or gases emission because it is not a burning fossil fuel like a coal power plant. So that I'm really sure that nuclear power plant doesn't cause any bad effects in our global society. Thank you.
We all know that nuclear power plant is dangerous. It can cause bad effects in our global society. Other people said that establishing a nuclear energy is good, but that is a big no for me. It is said that the nuclear energy is beneficial and advantageous to our global world. But not only the nuclear power plant can help to improve the economy and the lack of electricity. According to World Nuclear Association, the climate change is the first one bad effects caused by the nuclear power plant. That can affect also to the agricultural resources in every countries who have that nuclear power plant. That is the great risk due to the imbalance of natural supply that given by God to us to live. The scope and impact of climate change, including rising seas, more damaging extreme weather events, and serve ecological disruptions demand that we consider all possible options for limiting heat-trapping gas emissions, including the respective costs and timelines for implementation. Because of climate change, it affects much more to economic condition in our country. So there's the reason that almost 90% of our population in our country now are suffering much in poverty. And also, nuclear power plant can affect us globally. We all know that nuclear power plants release a lot of carbon dioxide that contains chemical, and because of that, effectively addressing global warming requires a rapid transformation of the way big calamities comes into our country and even to other countries today, like typhoon, earthquakes, floods, and always low pressure or famine due to the great phenomenon that occur every now and then. As of 2011, countries such as Australia, Austria, Denmark, Greece, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Malaysia, Portugal, New Zealand, and Malta, Norway, Philippines, and Portugal have no nuclear power station and remain opposed to them. Canadian Bruce Nuclear Generating Station is the largest nuclear power station now, whereas Japanese Kajiwazaka Kariwa was regarded as such earlier. The original beautiful world that God has given us, which is free from pollution, free from calamities, free from all other radicals that would make us safe to live, now has come into gradually ruin and damage. The world imbalance leads us to suffer shortage, poverty, famine, and hunger. So then, I can say that the nuclear power plant has bad effects and it contributes much damage that leaves global world imbalance and already become in danger. Thank you.
Miss Speaker, why did you say that building a nuclear power plant is dangerous in our global societies?
As you heard, there are many bad effects that nuclear power plant contribute in our global society. It can affect in our human health and environment. That is also the reason why plants and animals lost their habitats. Thank you.
Thank you, speakers. Now we will also hear the constructive speech and the interpellation of the both fifth speakers.
Good afternoon, everyone. The nuclear power's peacetime use involve moral consideration. In this space, we shall consider the continuing use of nuclear materials for power generation as lived experience that contains as a number of defined risks. According to our cartoon, during the 2011 American Nuclear Society Winter Meeting, a gathering of ANS members interested in social media and communication was held, with standing room only attendance. As the conversation went around the room and people discussed their involvement in nuclear communications, a common thread held throughout, the participants felt a moral calling to advance science and technology through their work and through their communication via social media. Some of these people have been called industry shells by those who oppose the continued use of nuclear science and technology for the benefits of society, implying that a true nuclear stance is somehow imposed upon someone by the big bad industry tycoons in charge of a vast nuclear conspiracy. There are many people who choose to work in the nuclear industry because they advocated nuclear technology, not the other way around, but these are the people who are leaders or will be the future leaders in the nuclear field. Speaking of industry, leaders, they recently collaborated on the development of the principles of conduct for a nuclear power plant. In the preamble, they call out 6 principles for focus: safety, security, environmental protection, compensation for nuclear damage, non-proliferation, and ethics. Nuclear professionals live on the same earth as everyone else, so they have a personal stake in utilizing this fascinating technology for the benefit of society, along with strong core values of safety and environmental responsibility. If you're looking for the moral high ground in an energy debate, start with advocating the use of nuclear energy. Electrical power production life-saving opportunities. Refrigeration keeps food safe, air conditioning saves many from heat stroke during the summer, and heating systems preserve life in the winter. The medical is dependent on electricity for many life-saving technologies. You probably listing out other things that electricity does to preserve and enhance life in ways that many people take for granted. Nuclear energy, this life-saving electricity with the smallest footprint per unit of energy, and in my strong opinion, makes the best use of Earth's precious wealth. Thank you.
Miss Speaker, based on your speech, how can you say that we should consider continuing use of nuclear power plant in our country when human lives are at risk?
We should consider the continuing use of nuclear plant because nuclear plant is a source of energy that I believe should be used. It provides stable electricity, so as long as nuclear power plant is a source of power, it is not harmful because the carbon dioxide releases is low. That's all, thank you.
Thank you for your answer. Good afternoon, everyone. The building of nuclear power plant in our country should be considered properly and should be studied well. The danger of its human life is evident. Aside from the fact that it does not only affect our environment, it also brings damage and catastrophe to human lives. Ever since the discovery of radioactive at the turn of the last century, it has been recognized that ionizing radiations has a deleterious impact on human health. Radiations can damage any part of the cell and can interface with many cellular processes. Most importantly, damage to the genetic materials of the cell can lead to cancer, birth defect, and hereditary illness. It is generally accepted by the scientific community that there is no safe level of radiation exposures and that any amount of exposures to ionizing radiations is harmful. Ladies and gentlemen, standards of acceptable in Canada and elsewhere have been reduced many times over the past decades as evidence has mounted of more deleterious health effects. Effects on chronic low-level exposures are poorly understood, especially in children. All stages of the nuclear fuel chain have their own associated toxicity. There is continuing risk of accidents of meltdown, which could release large amount of radioactivity, such as occurred at Truman Islands and Chernobyl. One of the potential health risks of this industry is the highly toxic spent fuel produced by the reactor. To that, there is no truly safe way to dispose of this spent fuel, which remains radioactive for hundreds of thousands of years, which consists of buying the waste deep underground is being considered but carries the risk of potential contaminations of air and water, and others unknown yet. A number of health studies done worldwide and in Canada have uncovered links between chronic low-level radioactive emissions from the reactors and cancers. Especially childhood leukemia experts believe that the radioactive emissions are too low to explain these cases. In 2008, the German TIKK study provided compelling evidence of a positive relationship between a child's risk of leukemia and residential proximity to a nuclear power plant in Germany, which met the researchers' criteria for size and durations, operations, and was detectable as far as 50 kilometers the nuclear facility. A number of studies of nuclear facility workers have shown elevated risk of cancer. Different real disasters prove the catastrophic impact of nuclear power plant to humans. One, the Chernobyl disaster accident which happened on April 26, 1986 in Ukraine Soviet Socialist Republic. That was the worst nuclear power plant accident which killed 31 people. Another accident is the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant which happened on March 11, 2011 in Japan. Although there have been no fatalities linked to radiations,
The actual number of cancer deaths is expected to increase in the years and decades ahead. From these incidents, we can therefore say that it is certainly by all means a threat to all Filipinos. If nuclear power plant is established in our country, it does not only make our lives miserable, but it will possibly cause to death to millions of people. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, you said that the radiation from the nuclear power plant can cause cancer. What are some of your proofs that it can really cause cancer?
Radiations can damage the genetic materials of the cell, can lead to cancer. According to Dr. Deborah McKenzie, radiations damage the DNA, especially as it assembles in dividing cells. That means tissues which contain many dividing cells, such as the gut lining, skin, and bone marrow, are most at risk of damage. High enough of gases also damage brain cells, and such gases are invariably fatal. Thank you.
Thank you, speakers. And now, the debaters are ready to entertain questions from the science teacher and the audience. What we would like for you to do is just raise your hand and be recognized, and then ask your question directly to one or the other of the speakers. We would like to ask you to limit yourself to questions only. No arguments with the speakers, and one question only.
Okay, you have questions. Questions from the audience. Okay, yes.
Is the building of a nuclear power plant beneficial to our country's development?
Is the building of the nuclear power plant beneficial to our country's development?
Is the question clear? Or, okay, can you repeat once?
Is the building of the nuclear power plant beneficial to our country's development?
Okay, so that question is for both negative and affirmative signs. Who would like to answer first? Affirmative. Okay.
So, in building nuclear power plants is very beneficial in terms of our economy development, because if we build many nuclear power plants, many unemployments will have a job or work. So because of it, our economy would be progress, and many investors would like to invest in our country. And that is because of the nuclear power plant. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, yes. For the negative side,
How come that it will be beneficial when, instead of good benefits to our country's development, it will become one of the heavy problems to our country because of the risk that it gives and the effects of the ionizing radiations that it releases? Thank you.
okay. Yes. Response from the affirmative. Other speaker? Okay.
Yes, it has a bad effect in building nuclear power plant. But don't you think if we build nuclear power plant, our electricity will be lessened? So, like the other other plants they build, like U.S., they build nuclear power plants, but their economy will still be in progress. So if we do that in our country, I guess, or like what my co-speakers, we believe that nuclear power plant is the way to make our economy in a progress. Thank you.
Yes, from the negative side.
For you, what is the most important? Less of economy and electricity, or the life of a person that will happen to every human?
Okay, can you repeat the question?
No, the statement.
The statement rather.
We all know that nuclear power plant contributes good, but like the less of electricity, and it gives also the less of, it helps also the less of economy, but the most important is for negative side. For us, the most important is the life of a person. So for us, nuclear power, establishing or building a nuclear power plant is not good. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, for the second question, no other. Okay, second question. Okay, yes.
Is nuclear power vital to ensuring the security of energy supply? Why?
Kindly repeat your question.
Is nuclear power vital to ensuring the security of energy supply? Why?
Are you saying that the building of nuclear power plant can secure the electrical energy supply? Okay. Yes.
Yes, because World Nuclear Association ensure the security of security before building the nuclear power plant for long-lasting supply, so that they can provide a clean, reliable, and safe. Thank you.
Yes. No. Not only nuclear power plants ensure the security of electrical energy supply. We can also use hydrothermal energy made from natural resources. Like in Maria Cristina Falls in Iligan City, it also releases energy. Okay, a response from the affirmative side. Yes. And respond to the statement of the negative side. Yes. Let's just give your. Okay, the team captain, you can help. From this side.
Yes, it is true that there are another source aside from the nuclear power plant, like hydrothermal in Maria Cristina, but reliable than the other and also it gives cheaper electricity. Thank you.
Yes? Okay.
Nuclear power plant is reliable, but we suggest to use a hydrothermal because hydrothermal does not produce radiation that can affect to individual's life. But unlike the nuclear power plant, it produces radiation that affects the environment, especially to the health of our people. So, if we continue to use the nuclear power plant, then it will destroy the lives of the individuals. If I will question you, what will you prefer? To the cheap one that produces radiation that can affect you, or the other one that is safe? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, negative side. Okay, in response from the affirmative side to the statement of the negative side.
Yes, the hydro is. We're not really sure that is what you have said that is really safe. So in nuclear power plant, it is really safe because it is safely and securely procedured correctly, or in some other scientists do. So we are really sure that we must use the nuclear power plant to make our electricity more cheaper. That's all.
Okay, so yes. Okay, so that is for the second question. Now this is the third question. Still vote for the negative and affirmative side. Okay, the first question is, do you think that building power plants would keep the peace among countries? Or do you think it is a threat to peace? And why do you think so? I repeat. Do you think that building power plants would keep the peace among countries? Or do you think it is a threat to peace? And why do you think so? Yes.
We strongly believe that nuclear power plant can be a way to have peace to other countries. Because if we build nuclear power plant, it will be a way to be a good investment or a huge investment to the other countries, and it can be a way to have a good negotiation to the other countries. Thank you.
Yes, and respond to the affirmative side.
In building nuclear power plant, it would be a threat to peace between countries because it can be used for mass destruction, like nuclear bomb to destroy a certain countries. Thank you.
Okay, so no other response? Okay, thank you for your answers. Okay. Okay, the next question. This is the last question. Okay. In your own opinion, which is more dangerous to human life? Spent nuclear fuel or global warming? And why? Again, in your own opinion, which is more dangerous to human life? Spent nuclear fuel or global warming? And why? Yes.
In our opinion, the more dangerous to human life is the global warming because it can cause earthquake, typhoon, flood, and it will destroy the livelihood resources. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, affirmative. Yes.
Well, for me, it is the spent nuclear fuel because when there is an accident, explosion, it gives immediate damage and harmful impacts that global warming because global warming gradual effects can produce a gradual effect. Sorry. Thank you.
Is that all? Okay. Thank you so much for the affirmative and also for the negative side. Okay, so, yes.
Let us hear the rebuttal speech of the captain of both teams.
A pleasant afternoon to everyone. I and my teammates strongly believe that nuclear power plant can be very useful, and we believe that it should be built in our country. Its machine that removes heat from the nuclear reactor can operate a steam turbine and generator of electricity. There is no adverse effect on water, land, or any habitats due to the use of it. Based on time for change organization, nuclear power generation does emit relatively slow amounts of carbon dioxide, the emission of greenhouse gases, and therefore the contribution of nuclear power plants to global warming is therefore relatively little. It is possible to generate a high amount of electrical energy in one single plant. Our opponents stated that nuclear power plant can affect the agricultural resources in our country. How sure it is? According to World Nuclear Association, that there are 16 countries that still depend on nuclear power plant for their agricultural resources, economic, and as well as their electricity. According to Elizabeth Shoko, nuclear power plant is beneficial to our country because it will result in cheap electricity. Nuclear power plant can generate about 8.1 billion of kilowatts with nuclear, so there will be huge saving can be used for important things like infrastructure that will benefit our country and people. Philippines built a nuclear power plant that can help us become a model in the whole Asia. By using nuclear power plant, we can generate the electricity for almost 90% of annual time. Power plants are needed in our country. There are many benefits brought to us, such as creation and economic growth for workers, construction, local infrastructure, helping communities to build schools, roads, medical facilities, and many more. The alternative power sources from nature's bountiful energy sources can provide most of our energy needs together with energy-saving technology at the supply side. It is only requires that the nation land its leaders' make political decision to develop rapidly and expand these renewable, safe, and clean energy sources. If you build more nuclear power plant, many people will have more jobs and we can have less unemployment, meaning more families will get out of debt and more countries will become and our country will become more wealthy. Humans chose to work in the nuclear industry because they advocated nuclear energy, not the other way around, but they are the people who are leaders, or they will be the future leaders when it comes to nuclear field. Speaking of industry leaders, they recently collaborated on the principle of conduct of nuclear power plant. They go of 6 principles focus such as safety, security, environmental protection, compensation for nuclear damage, non-proliferation, and ethics. According to USCB, the National Science Foundation, nuclear power plants these days are not dangerous to operate or even live near. We could use the electrical energy from nuclear power plant to charge batteries. But currently, batteries are not very efficient and not long-lasting enough to replace sometimes, like gasoline. There are other options to electrically charging automobiles. So we, the affirmative side, agree that it is beneficial to build the nuclear power plant in the Philippines. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have shown that nuclear power plants should not be built here in our country because there are many reasons that should be considered, and also it's not beneficial to us. Nuclear power plant is dangerous because it can ruin our country. There is a big risk of the nuclear accident where it releases the radiation to our wide range. Living things and non-living things will be affected. Our opponents stated that nuclear energy has no adverse effect on water, land, or any habitats due to the use of it. How sure it is? In disposing the waste of it, where would it go? Can it affect to everyone or to the environment? Also, they stated that nation and its leaders should make political decisions to develop rapidly and expand these renewable, safe, and clean energy sources. How about that? According to Physicians for Social Responsibility Organization, the truth about the nuclear power plant is dirty, dangerous, and expensive. Animals, plants, humans, and our environment are in deep danger when the nuclear power plant will blow up. One wrong move, all things will be devastated. Our opponents mentioned that at the Senate committee hearing, Alfonso Susi said that he was in favor of reviving the 620 megawatts nuclear plant because it was good for us. How come it is good for us if the nuclear waste can cause harmful effects on life, causing cancerous growth, for instance, and the radiation that released from it gives big impact to individuals' health, especially to the people who are operating or working inside the plant, and the health of young children who are the hope for the world's brighter future. It also affects in generation of animals, and plants will have genetic problems as the years goes by because caused by the radioactive waste that releases radiation for a long period of time. It also affects on their habitat because when the nuclear plant will build their habitats, will remove when it is out of space or area because of expansion. Does it make sense to build when it is already harmful to everyone and might lead them to death? Well, not particularly death physically, but also death in hope, emotions, and in future life. Do we want a country that is in risk if the nuclear power plant is already built? We, on the negative, do not want to live in that kind of country. You may think that our opponents are correct when they stated that nuclear power plant is the best for the rising of our economy. But what about the time comes when there is an accident, explosion, like what happened in Fukushima and Chernobyl? Do you want that to happen in our country? Yes, you think that is good to our economy, but can you take the risk, or would you accept that the exchange of it is your own life and safety? Well, I guess you won't accept. So why bother having a nuclear power plant here in our country when you don't want to accept possible hazards? Finally, our opponents stated that many jobs will be made if we create more nuclear plants. We can have less employment, meaning more families will get out of debt, and our country will become wealthier. Again, do you want to take the risk? If you have given a chance in the future to work at one of the nuclear plants, do you want to take the effects of the radiation that have been released? And if you are not drawn in debt in your daily needs, maybe you are in debt because of daily medical checkups or etc. to maintain your health and strength for your work in nuclear power plants. Ladies and gentlemen, the negative has proven to you today that the issue of building the nuclear power plant must be stopped. We, the negative, have shown you the risk that might happen if the nuclear will be built here in the Philippines, the land of my birth and the land of paradise. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Captain. So now, let us hear some comments from the Board of Judges.
Apil pa ni, dili na. Apil pa ni, once mo pa. Comment ko sa...
So I observed that both teams shared their ideas and they actively participated and shared their brilliant views about the negative and the positive sides of building a nuclear power plant in the country. So I have observed also that you had really give your best to this event. Yeah. That's all. Thank you. And for the next
These are my comments. First of all, I would like to congratulate all the members, both affirmative and negative, because all the participants, you are very good in delivering, in doing your task. The ideas were brought out clearly, so congratulations, no? I'll just make few comments for the improvement. I just hope we talked with Mom Eileen, and it's but then the question was then realized when the audience participated by asking questions, and both parties, both sides gave their answers, and that's good. There is just I think, for me, it's very important for the evidence. When you cite an evidence in your side, make sure it is complete. Complete means the name, when you are stating about the person who, when you get, excuse me. For example, the information was taken from a book. So the title of the book should be there. When was it published? The writer, the date, the time. Take note of that. That is very important in a debate. The information should be complete. There are speakers who mentioned, like, if you notice, I was taking notes of the Public Act, like you're wrong, no? So mention about the Public Act, the year, so that's good. but it should be complete. So unsa kay nakakulang ato no? So it should be complete. So when you mention like if you are going to pwede mataas? Yes. Okay. Mataas bit siya kagayahan ko. I like the topic today. I enjoyed so much, and I said to Sir Mark, how I wish we could have the debate for that topic, and then the audience will be the students and pupils. Teachers versus teachers. Like, yeah, I really like it. I will continue. When you said, is it beneficial? Beneficial when you build katong nag-mention nga how the area that will be consumed for the building of the power plant, that's it. Then somebody said no, and then yes. Kinahanglan it should be, there should be there should be where proof. The word is proof. You should have a proof that you read something about, for example, Japan, they have the power plant, how the power plant, the area affected the population. And for the negative side, if you remember, there was a news that the power plant merong yanig-yanig and there was a leakage. And then the people around the area, what did it do? And how it affects the population in Japan, just like that. So the information you give should be complete so that the audience and the judges will be convinced. And ana na siya. Bisag namin mga we have our own side. Ako, I have my own side. I don't say now if I am the affirmative, but I have my own side. But based on the explanations, maybe I will be convinced that I will turn to the other side. Oh yes, okay. If you notice, I was nodding, like that. So I was really listening. So congratulations to all of you. Chabutan.
Hello, grade 10 students. Kudos to all of you. Kudos, congratulations. I did not expect, and I was so surprised upon looking at you, observing at you along the way when you had your debate, and I was so proud of you. Congratulations. Everything you did now is actually the applications of all the things you learned in the English subject, the grammar, the proper speaking, your speaking ability, how you persuade people, because this is a form of persuasion, diba? Yes, and just like what I have said during our class, persuasion is one of the very difficult ability that a person should have. Before you could persuade a person, you have to entertain him. You have to make it sure that you are on the right track for him to, get his or her attention. And as we all know, debate is a very complicated process. It is an art. That's why, as we go along the way with this event, we are following system. We are following procedures. And I'm so happy to know that even if you are first timers, all of you, I believe you are all first timers, you are novice in this kind of event, you still did your job well. That's why I'm so proud of you. And I hope, and I do believe that even though there are some of the technicalities we actually failed to do, but as we go along the way, if you try to improve what you have now, there are still a wide avenue of learning. You could develop your speaking ability. I see some of you who become, with just a click of an eye, I say, oh, he's a good speaker. He's not only good in Filipino, but you are also good in English. You can improve. That's what I told you. You have to believe on yourself. You can don't just say, I don't know how to talk in English. Sometimes I get nosebleed. No, you can speak well. And I have observed that. No? So see, this is a success. Thank you.
Gamay lang. I'll give you a tip. Kayo mo sa Sir Mark. Ay na nagkapila ha sa inyong video. Ay nagkapila. Kapil yapon? Oh my God. Oh, sige. Just a tip. Kaya na mo si Mark. Yung sa Sir Mark na keep on. Because because some of you all of us have the ideas, right? We have the ideas inside our minds, but the problem is we cannot alter it. We cannot speak, but we have the ideas. That's our problem. So I'll give you a tip on how to do it. Face in the mirror and then talk. What comes in your mind, utter it. Yeah, I did that. And then try to speak English without fear. Even if you are speaking it to your sisters, to your brothers, to your mother, to your father, try to speak it in English. And I did that. Yeah. That is a proven testimony because before, when I was in elementary, I am really afraid to talk or to speak English. Just like you, but very good to those who have the courage. Kimberly has the very courageous girl. So there are others. Gia. It's okay if I will mention. Huh? Okay lah. Huh? All of you have the ideas inside. Kaya lang, you are afraid to utter, to express it. Mura tayo problema na to diari. So, Ditan has the idea, all of you, from Margaret down to Gia, all of you. The problem is more than that siya. So, practice, practice, practice. Don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. And when you will reach college, mind you will be a good speaker someday.
Thank you for your comments and compliments, judges. And that ends our debate. Thank you. Let us just wait for the result.
Mo na niya mong kuan. Sige.
Oy, ganang no hurt feelings, ha?
Oh. All of you did very well.
Paano kaya kayo mo, ha? No hurt feelings.
Tuloy yun. Sana. They will receive medals.
Oy, nalipat kayo ko sa part 1.
Lagi, ganahan kayo po, as in.
So are you ready, guys?
You will be exempted for my project.
Wow, exempted.
You already have your 50 points.
Alam ko, James, po yung pinako.
Taga ko ng points po.
Okay, so for the best debating team goes to
The team.
Kabalo mo? Kabalo. Hala.
for the best debating team goes to negative side. Best debater goes to Kimberly Lumasa. And the best speaker goes to April Rose Francisco. Let's give them a round of applause. Congratulations.
Best in rebuttal.
And also the best in rebuttal goes to Rebecca Michelle Tigea.
We are requesting the judges to...
Ay, muna siya ginoon.
Chinilas na ko. Chinilas ko yun.
Alaga, chinilas naman. Okay na? Ay, nakuha chinilas.
Don't worry. Okay. Negative side. Okay, come here.
Ako langan siya.
Ipauli na mo ba?
Alaway ka.
Okay, here is the center.
Lapot ako na.
Kamidala na sila balik.
One, two, ready, smile. Wait. Silver na. Silver na.
Okay, bro.
Ilan mo na? 2, 4, 5.
Okay, for the winning team.
4-6 tayo sila. Ay, dili. Ilahi lang yung wala. Wala kang kuwan na ito individual. Ay, dali lang sa ingatan sa sila. Ako sa mali.
Sa, ano?
Sa kuha man siya sa katong kuhaan.
Sa other can.
Other team.
Sa other team.
Yes, okay. Okay, congratulations. Okay, also congratulations to the affirmative sign. Can you stand? Can you move?
Ako kil, ay ikuan ha.
One, two, ready? Smile.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Sige, ako dahil sa kuhan. Second placer.
Nawag-apit si Mami Ken.
Second placer na dahil. Ha? Second placer sila.
Okay.
Agay.
Kuha nga yung gulo ka buhok ng medalyo.
Tango na ako.
Uy, mayo, piyamutan nun.
Okay, thank you. Affirmative sign.
Wait.
Okay, picture.
One, two, ready?
Okay.
Okay, sa kuhaan. Individual.
Okay, for the best debater, Kimberly Lumasan. Picture? Yes. Picture, judges.
Pinagyan yung best.
Okay, for the best speaker, April Ross Francisco. Okay, and the best rebuttal, na? Okay, so Miss? Okay, Gia.
Ibalik ko taon.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. I want to thank all of you, and especially our judges, to be with us this afternoon, to all the audience, and especially to our speakers, debaters, this afternoon. A round of applause for everybody. Okay, now that's the end of our debate, and let's have a closing prayer.
Sign of the cross. Yes, Father God, Lord, thank you, Father God, for being with us, oh God. Thank you for the success afternoon, oh God, some activity, Father God, that we made, oh God. Lord, thank you as we go home, Father God. Lord, guide our way. Guide us, Father God. Let your divine protection, Father God, be with us, oh God. That, Lord, na maabot mismo tagsa nga balay, safe and sound, oh God. Thank you for everything, Lord. We love you, we honor you, we bless you. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.